The film introduces Sergeant Tom Brandt, a volatile detective from southeast London. He interrupts three youths trying to break into a car, armed with a hurley stick. Brandt violently dispatches the thugs, showcasing his brutal approach to justice. His actions make the front page, labeling him a maniac cop. Brandt is sent to a police psychiatrist to manage his violent impulses. He remains defiant and uncooperative during his session. The psychiatrist lists his recent infractions, including assaulting three youths. Brandt threatens that if he's fired, his behavior will only get worse. Meanwhile, WPC Elizabeth Falls returns to the precinct after a stint in rehab. She's struggling with her confidence after failing her sergeant's exam. Brandt's superior, Superintendent Brown, warns him to keep a low profile. Brandt argues that his aggressive methods are necessary on the dangerous streets. The officers attend the funeral of Inspector Roberts' wife, Fiona. During the wake, a bizarre incident occurs. The urn containing the ashes is stolen. Brandt receives an urgent call while at a pub. A police officer has been shot. He learns the victim is PC Sandra Bates, and the armed assailant has escaped. At the crime scene, Brandt learns that Falls knew the victim from the police academy. Brandt quickly locates a witness to the shooting. The witness, Anthony, recognizes Brandt from a previous violent encounter at a pool hall. Back at the station, a new officer, Sergeant Porter Nash, introduces himself. Due to Inspector Roberts' bereavement leave, Nash is temporarily promoted to acting DCI. Nash, an openly gay officer from West London, is brought in to instill professionalism. WPC Falls is visited by a young informant, Metal, who is in trouble. Metal confesses that he and his friends may have killed someone during a fight. Falls warns him to leave his gang or stay away from her for good. To help her informant, Falls asks Brandt for a favor, leveraging his network. A crime journalist, Harold Dunlop, receives a call from a mysterious man. The caller offers an inside scoop on the cop killings, promising to target journalists next. The killer asks Dunlop to pick a number between 7 and 8. Dunlop chooses 8, and the killer declares he has 8 more cops to kill. Nash attempts to build a rapport with Brandt, who remains guarded and cynical. Brandt identifies the problem: a serial killer is targeting police officers. The investigation intensifies, with ballistics identifying the weapon as a 9mm semi-automatic. They review CCTV footage, but the killer cleverly keeps his back to the cameras. Brandt violently interrogates his informant, Radner, for a lead on the gun. He threatens Radner with a kneecapping to get the information he needs. Radner gives him a weak lead, a man at the Peacock Gym who boasted about setting a police dog on fire. Later that night, a drunk and distressed Brandt shows up at Nash's apartment. Brandt confesses he's struggling and asks Nash for advice. He admits he's having blackouts and feels like he's losing his mind. Nash recognizes the symptoms of a mental breakdown, having experienced one himself. He shares a story about being harassed by colleagues while hunting a pedophile. Unable to get a conviction, Nash took justice into his own hands, brutally assaulting the suspect. The next morning, Brandt wakes up on Nash's couch, feeling better. He agrees to follow up on the Peacock Gym lead with Nash. Inspector Roberts returns to work, still grieving but determined to help the case. Brandt and Nash arrive at the apartment of the suspect, Barry Weiss. Weiss is eccentric and his apartment is filled with bizarre memorabilia. Brandt suddenly recognizes Weiss from the pool hall incident a year prior. This establishes a personal motive: Weiss is seeking revenge against Brandt. Nash suggests they keep a close eye on Weiss, but Brandt is dismissive. That night, Weiss stalks his next victim in a multi-story car park. Posing as a cable guy, he gains entry to Inspector Roberts' apartment. He brutally attacks Roberts with a hammer. The killer calls Dunlop again, revealing he murdered his third victim. He says he pulverized the bastard with a hammer and gives his name, Blitz. The news of Roberts' murder reaches the precinct, confirming the killer is targeting their station. Nash learns the killer's contact is the journalist, Dunlop. Dunlop receives another call, this time from an informant offering to sell Blitz's identity. The price for the killer's name is £50,000. At the scene of Roberts' murder, investigators find a Peacock Gym pass in the bathroom. Brandt connects the gym pass directly to their suspect, Barry Weiss. WPC Falls meets with Detective Craig Stokes, the officer Brandt recommended. Stokes agrees to help her informant, Metal, in exchange for a drink with Falls. Brandt checks if Roberts was a member of the gym, but he wasn't. He and Falls search the police database for any connections between Weiss and the victims. Dunlop arranges to meet the informant, Radner, in the car park to exchange the money. But Blitz has followed Radner. He reveals himself and confronts the terrified informant. Blitz explains how he found Radner by tracking a parking receipt he found in his trash. He then brutally murders Radner before Dunlop can get the name. Brandt and Nash arrive to find Dunlop with Radnor's body. Dunlop tells them about a black Jaguar in the car park belonging to the killer. Their investigation hits a wall when they discover the car park's CCTV system is broken. Back at the station, Falls searches the database for connections to Weiss. She finds the first victim, PC Sandra Bates, arrested Weiss 2 years ago. Then she discovers both Roberts and herself also had official encounters with Weiss. They realize Falls is Blitz's next target. Brandt rushes to call and warn her. But it's too late. As Falls arrives home, Blitz ambushes her. Her young informant, Metal, sees the attack and bravely intervenes. Blitz turns his rage on Metal, beating him to death as Falls watches in horror. At the hospital, a sedated Falls is questioned, but can only describe her attacker as big and white. She is consumed by guilt, explaining that Metal was her neighbor whom she was trying to help. With enough circumstantial evidence, the police release Barry Weiss's photo to the public. A taxi driver recognizes Weiss as a recent fare, giving police his location. Brandt and Nash lead a raid on the hotel where Weiss is hiding. Weiss spots them and flees, triggering a massive police chase. The pursuit continues on foot as Weiss runs into a train station. Brandt finally corners Weiss on the train tracks. Overcome with rage, Brandt begins to assault him before Nash and other officers intervene. Barry Weiss, the prime suspect in the Blitz murders, is finally in custody. In the interrogation room, Weiss is arrogant and demanding. His lawyer states the police have only 48 hours to charge him or he walks free. The case against him is weak. The fire destroyed all forensic evidence at Robert's apartment. The key witness is now too afraid to identify him, and there is no usable CCTV footage. The team realizes that without solid proof, Weiss will be released. Brandt and Nash discuss the grim reality over a drink. Brandt brings up Nash's story about the pedophile, suggesting they may need to act outside the law. Nash refuses to engage, disliking where the conversation is headed. Brandt confronts Weiss in his cell for one last psychological battle. He correctly deduces Weiss's motive, deep-seated humiliation from their encounter at the pool hall. Brandt mocks him, calling him insignificant and forgotten, further enraging Weiss. Leaving the station, Brandt tells Nash his philosophy: if we can't protect the ones we love, what are we good for? As predicted, Weiss is released from custody due to insufficient evidence. He revels in the media attention, playing the part of the wrongly accused victim. Nash immediately places Weiss under 24/7 surveillance. The day of Inspector Roberts' funeral arrives. Nash informs Brandt that every officer from the precinct will be attending, except for him. This leaves Weiss completely unwatched, creating an opportunity. After the funeral, Nash learns that Weiss hasn't left his apartment all day. Brandt, wearing a hoodie, confronts Weiss in the same car park where Radnor was killed. Weiss is now dressed in a police uniform he took from Blitz's car. He boasts that Brandt can't touch him and asks if he's going to call the police. Brandt tosses him a phone, then the murder weapon he recovered from the car. Weiss, feeling invincible, points the gun at Brandt and proudly declares, "I am the Blitz." Brandt calmly points out that they couldn't convict him because he was innocent. But now, he's a man in a police uniform pointing the murder weapon at an officer. It's a perfect setup for self-defense. With justice served his way, Brandt shoots and kills Weiss. Nash arrives on the scene. They both agree this will be a very difficult crime to solve. As the journalist Dunlop arrives, hoping for a scoop, he is comically chased off by a stray dog. If you want a recap of your favorite movies and shows, comment below, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. See you next time, everyone.